Alright, what's up ideologies? So today I'm going to be making a political compass explanation. This video is also in memorial of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated today, unfortunately. So rest in peace to him, and here's my condolences. So this is the political compass. Now, to anybody who doesn't know anything about politics, this looks like a big mess. It looks like a big mess, and that's because it is. But lucky for you, I'm going to explain it to you just now. So I'm going to start right at the bottom here, work our way up. Anything below this line, let's get my... Alright, hold on. Yep. Let's just Alright, so where's the marker? Alright, so anything below this line, actually draw it. Alright, so anything below this blue line that I've just drawn, there is no government at all. There's absolutely no government. No government whatsoever down here. I'll explain to you some of the things. So like anything that says anarcho, well, like all the green stuff, this green stuff is like left wing. It's like left wing stuff, so like, you know, transgenders and whatnot. But since there's no government, there's really no way to facilitate all these transgender surgeries that they want to have. Anything right here is right wing, of course. So, you know, like, you know, like there's a lot of like Christian libertarianism right here, and you know, some other stuff, voluntarism. So anarcho-communalism, this one right here, you can see it. It's basically a big community, but there's no real leader to it. As far as I'm concerned, it's a big community, but there's no real leader. That's literally it. Imagine a basketball team without a coach. Instead of a basketball team, it's a society. Yeah. Eco-anarchism, another political ideology, just right next to it. So that's obviously no government. Since there's no government, there's no one to destroy the environment, basically. So it's like ecological and stuff, and they probably like live amongst. Imagine a tribe in the middle of fucking Papua New Guinea. That's basically what this is. Anarcho-feminism and queer anarchism. Yes, anarcho-feminism and queer anarchism. Right here, right here. So basically anarcho-feminism is there's no government, and like, I guess women run everything, I guess. Right. Queer anarchism is, I'm gonna assume there's a lot of sexual assault going on in these societies, but luckily these societies don't exist because they wouldn't last 5 minutes. Anarcho-collectivism, kind of religious anarchism, right here. It's basically a collective, but less, you know, there's less extreme stuff since it's more central, but there still is really no government. Anarcho-primitivism, that's a good one. Imagine cavemen, that's what that is, that's cavemen. Right, now we're getting into the right wing. So, eco-capitalism, obviously. So there's no government in eco-capitalism. Oh, I didn't explain that. There's no government in eco-capitalism, one. Businesses probably run most of everything. Or like small businesses, because there's no real government. Because if the big businesses, then it would turn into one like corporatism, which we'll get into later. So eco-capitalism, that's what that is. And they also take care of the environment and stuff. And I'd like to talk about anarcho-frontierism. Imagine the Wild West. That's literally what that is, because, you know, you think of like the American frontier and cowboys and stuff. That's what that would eventually devolve into. It would go about, you know, maybe 200 years back into the past, and that's anarcho-frontierism. Oh, right there, what I just marked out. Individualist anarchism. Again, no government. Everyone is individualist. Everyone's in control of themselves. Anarcho-monarchism. So it's basically there's a monarchy, but like I don't assume anyone listens to that monarchy. Voluntarism right here. Everyone volunteers to do stuff. Obviously, the minute somebody volunteers to not do something or refuses to volunteer, then the entire government collapses, even though there is no government in the first place. Anarcho-capitalism and Christian libertarianism. Christian libertarianism, you know, Christ is like the king of the world and everyone listens to the Bible, and anarcho-capitalism is just basic, similar to eco-capitalism, but just they don't care about the environment as much. None of these societies down here last, or else you would see them. Right, now we're going to draw a line. Should we draw this next line? Alright, I'm going to draw a line right here. That was a terrible line. That was another terrible line. Come on. Right, I'm sure he's get the point. Fuck! Oh. Alright, that's better. That's a better line, I think. So anything under here, so all of this is there is a government that technically works. It collects your taxes, but it doesn't do much more than that. It just collects your taxes and some other stuff. So since this is like a big sort of thing, we'll just split it up. So we'll split up to left and right, and then we'll split it up into that, and then we'll split it up into that. So basically all this like far left wing stuff, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And anything of the far right stuff, something super far right, it does work, but it often ends up in a war, and they often horseshoe around to each other. Like horseshoeing is when you're so far left or you're so far right that you actually horseshoe around and join the other side without even realizing most of the time. So yeah, communalism, left communism, orthodox Marxism, Luxemburgism. Luxemburg actually works, but they don't even really follow Luxemburgism. It kind of just works on like a really small scale. That's why you see there's council communalism here, because it's like a council. It works with like small villages, and Luxembourg is like one of the smallest countries. So yeah, it's not going to work with anything large. Classical Marxism, again, Marxism is just saying capitalism doesn't work. That's literally all it is. Market socialism, again, just they think there's like some dandy society, and obviously this is off the compass, so let's just ignore all the off the compass stuff unless it's super fun. So yeah, that stuff doesn't work. I'll get to this stuff later, but the right-wing stuff, neoconservatism, again, mostly ends up in a war, because like the minute you get attacked, like there's kind of really no army. There's an army, but you need like rally them all together, and wars break out pretty quick. At least that's what's happening in the past. Social Darwinism. I'm not getting into Darwinism. Dark Enlightenment. Dark and light in the same political ideology just doesn't really work. National libertarianism. That actually could work. That could work. But just not in this day and age. Minarchism. I'm not going to explain the difference between monarchism and minarchism. Because I don't want to. Right-wing classical libertarianism. Liberalism. I just don't like any of this like far right. I guess it's alright. Think of Sean Strickland. Think of what Sean Strickland would like. If you follow the UFC, think of what Sean Strickland would like. That's sort of his. That's where he gets down. in this area right here. Sean Strickland. And all of this stuff right here, think of a fat fucking blue-haired transgender bitch. And all of this, just think of like a cowboy or whatever. Alright. Now this, let's just get this box right here. This box right here is what I call the status quo. This box right here, that's a status quo. Especially neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is a very much status quo. So basically, none of these people stand for nothing. They don't have backbones. You know, senatorialism. Like, Senator, I'm Singaporean. Oh. Welfareism. You know, give me money, government. Government collects taxes from people and gives them to poor people. It's just the status quo. The government doesn't actually like. There's a lot of protests in France right now. There's a lot of protests in Australia right now. There's a lot of protests all over the world because of shit like this. Right now, these box on this right here. So obviously, third way. I want to get to third way because that's people who say, you know, oh, well, I don't want to be like Labourism, or I don't want to be like the neoconservative because I think I can consider myself more authoritarian than that. I don't want to be more progressive, like, you know, be around gay people and stuff, so I'm going to be a third way. And now there's a fourth and a fifth and a sixth way, so it's really not special anymore. It used to be special at one point, no, now it's just not. Yeah, so all of this just isn't, it's just nothing. Now let's go to the left-wing section. Greenism right here. It's a bit blurred out, but you can sort of see it. Greenism. Think of the Greens Party in any place. That's basically what it is. Social democracy, again, just like socialism. It's pretty socialist. Think of just your average left-wing Palestine protester. That's probably what they want. Liberal democracy, again, the same thing. Think of probably like Keir Starmer. Just a fucking pussy with no backbone. But like they're extra pussy than more of a, like an extra, they're more of a pussy than someone on welfare. Eco-transhumanism. See, now that just doesn't work. Eco-transhumanism. Or an accelerationism, that's another good one. Accelerationism, they want things to be super fast. They want society to progress super fast. And it sounds good in theory, but it's a bit of a, it can be a bit of a trap. Because, like, where are you progressing into? Like, you know, send some scouts out first and let's think about where exactly you want to accelerate to. Because if you accelerate to the wrong spot, then it just doesn't work. Eco-transhumanism. So transhumanism basically, say my hand, say I have, I don't know, some joint pain in my hand. It's cut off my whole entire hand and get a robot hand. Say I'm having a problem with my eye, cut out my entire eye and get a robot eye. So that's why transhumanism as a whole and acceleration sort of go hand in hand, because I want to accelerate science to make people more like robotic. But eco-transhumanism would obviously be taking the ecosystem and the environment into factor whilst progressing in science, which, you know, to develop all these robot parts. Just the eco section of it, doesn't really, it's kind of difficult to pull off. Now we get to a little more authoritarian, so this is like sort of like a big communism. This whole entire section right here, just consider it communism. Consider it communism. It's all communism. You have the Chinese and the USSR and the fucking Vietnamese and just the big communists. It's just communism. You know, Vladimir Lenin, Stalin, Joseph Stalin, National Bolshevism, which is like the Bolshevist Jews, Strasserism, what else? Socialist transhumanism, Trotskyism. They're just not socialist transhumanism, but, you know, Trotsky, Stalin, Lenin, the Bolshevik Jews, Mao, Xi, as in Xi Jinping, or Xi Jinping's dad maybe. Strauss, and there's a few more. there's a few more, but yeah, they were all just like, you know, political figures, you know, who are all basically just communists that have something named after them now. There's really nothing special about it. Juche is they were just, a lot of it's either Chinese shit or Russian shit, like Eastern European during that section during like the period of time when it was all communist. But there's a few special ones in here that I like to talk about. Unionism, think about like a trade unions being in like kind of in power. Social nationalism, that sounds good, but most of the time it's not. Collectivism, everybody works as a collective. I swear there was something like very collective down here, but I don't know. Christian democracy, that sounds good, but they're probably going to interpret Christianity as something that is a little bit more centrist or left wing. So it's not the type of Christianity that any Orthodox Christian or Catholic would think of. Oh, Castroism, Fidel Castro. I just don't know how people fall for this. I really don't know. Is that Ho Chi Minh thought? So again, just more Chinese shit. Futurist. There's futurism right here. Obviously, just the more centrist and high, more authoritarianism and more centrist type of thing. Oh, by the way, I should have explained this. Down here is, I did explain it basically. Down here is no government, and up here is a lot of government. Over here is left wing, and over here is right wing. But yeah, so anything above this line that I initially drew out, there's an actual government. But we're not going to get into that just right now. Alright, but I should say anything above this line would be considered fascism. So I'm actually going to get rid of all these other lines, because we can forget about them because we've already gone through it. Basically, anything above this line that I've drawn out, and anything below this line, and obviously between this line and this line, is a government that might actually be able to do something, as long as you don't get into all the weird Castroism or futurism or I don't know, socialist transhumanism or anything like that. So anything above this line is technically fascism in one way or another, and anything above this line is most likely going to horse you around, as well as colonialism. Eventually colonies just don't work, as we've seen with every European empire ever. Even though it's a great idea and I love colonialism, it just doesn't really work. So we'll split it into left wing and right wing, and then we'll split it into like the more extremist but still technically works. And then we'll move further north on the political compass. So obviously Castroism is just what did Fidel Castro do? I don't know, he just ran some fucking, he ran Cuba and created some missile crisis. Basically all he did. And he was like a socialist. It's nothing special. Christian democracy, already been all over that. Progressive conservatism. Yeah, so this section right here I should go into. Oh my gosh, I've drawn too many lines again. Alright. This section right here, I should go into. I'll draw a line around it. That's all conservatism. So if progressive conservatism, which is more progressive but still technically conservative, somehow, I don't know if that works. Eco-conservatism, they care about the environment but they're also conservatives, that works. And nationalist conservatism. Oh, and then also here you also have traditionalist conservatism. That is super far right, but it technically kind of works, but not really. A lot of people call for it. Think of Nick Flinters. Yeah, Nick Flinters was kind of in the middle, but think of Nick Flinters. And over here, think of like nationalist conservatism. Think of Charlie Kirk. God rest his soul. Down here we have Zionism, which I didn't get into. Obviously, everyone knows what Zionism is. Jews having the same state. That gets its own political ideology and its own little spot on the political compass, which is okay. I mean, look, the Nazis get the whole little thing right here. Nazis get a whole big thing right here, and the Jews only get a small little thing right there. But that's sure. Whatever. So conservatism, obviously conserving stuff, conserving the way things were. Progressive conservatism, completely contradicting yourself. Alright, now I personally consider myself an aristocracy. I think that's nice. Everyone's an aristocrat. Maybe Christian theocracy could work if everybody's Christian. Think of maybe the Vatican. Think of the Vatican. But the Vatican, like, it's too small of a country to count. Think of maybe, so it's a super Christian country. Maybe Poland. Yeah, think of Poland. Technically, Jesus Christ is the king of Poland, apparently. So think of Poland when you think of a Christian theocracy. Then you have Hindu theocracy and a Buddhist theocracy. Don't know how that's far right, but whatever. Elective monarchism, where you elect your king, basically a presidency, which is just regular society like America, but somehow it's a monarchy. I think there's some South American countries which have that. Feudalism, I'm getting into that later. We're not talking about left-wingism, this communism shit, because I don't really like it. Alright, Islamist theocracy, a little bit more authoritarian than Christian theocracy. Oh my gosh, I'm out of water. Obviously, you'd have Sharia law in that. So if you're not a Muslim, then at least one country away from any Islamist theocracy, because I can guarantee you there will be terror attacks in the surrounding countries. I can promise you there will be terrorist attacks. There will be terror attacks in the surrounding countries of an Islamist theocracy. So if you're not a Muslim, stay at least 2 countries away. And if you are a Muslim, please go to that and stay there. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, so now we have neo-fascism kind of wedging itself into here. This kind of neo-fascism would just be like, extremist nationalism, you could say. Everyone loves their country, and their country is basically what controls them and tells them what to do. Paleoconservatism right here. I don't know what paleo means, unfortunately. Yeah, I must just be a noob. Paleoconservatism, right-wing ideology. Yeah, okay, so it's basically just a regular ideology of conservatism. It's nothing special. Obviously a little bit more authoritarian than regular conservatism. Alright, so that's this section as well done. So colonialism, obviously it had its golden era, and now its golden era is over. Feudalism, basically the predecessor to imperialism. Imagine Japan before it was Japan. Or imagine Germany before it was Germany. Just like a bunch of like small little states in a big country fighting over land. That's what feudalism is. Colonialism, I'm getting a lot of colonial nostalgia just by looking at this. Imperialism, again, colonial nostalgia just by looking at it. Imperial nostalgia. Think of the British Empire, the Roman Empire, or any empire at all, except for the Genghis Khan, the Mongolian Empire, because that has its own thing right at the top, which you can't even see anymore. You can't even see. I could have done this the whole time. Genghis Khanism right here. Keratorocracy. We're ignoring that, okay? Alright, so now we literally have not much left. We have just like this. Oops. Alright. Oh my gosh. Let me out, bro. Come on. Corporate autocracy is basically the rich rule everything. Conquestalism, similar to imperialism, absolute monarchism. There's a king and a queen, and that's it. We've already been over most of this. Hive mind collective. Sorry, my face is in the way. Hive mind collectivism. Pretend you're a bee in a beehive. That's basically what that is. Imagine you're a bee in a beehive. That's what that is. National Bolshevism, the Bolsheviks Jews, I assume run it all. Basically the USSR. Baathism, I can't assume that's anything less than some sort of... I don't even know. Baathism. I've heard of it before. Oh, okay, so it's just Arab nationalism. Think of terrorists. Think of terrorists. Ingsocism, just think of totalitarianism. Like absolute totalitarianism for all of the things above here. Oh yeah, above this line is like, yeah, fascism, but above this line is totalitarianism. So, the best ones, in my personal opinion, well, there is no best one. It depends how big your society is. It depends on a lot of factors. You know, what religion is everyone? You know, if everyone's a Muslim, you don't want a Christian theocracy. If everyone's a Christian, you don't want Islamist theocracy. You know, if everyone's gay, you don't want a fucking... I don't know, if everyone's a Jew, you don't want, Nazism, you want Zionism. If everyone's a cowboy, you don't want fucking Stalinism. So it really just depends what everybody is, how the majority of the people define themselves. But my personal favorite is like right here. I like this, like right at the top. Absolute monarchism. See, if I'm the king, then absolute monarchism. If I'm rich, then corporate autocracy. If I'm a lord, if I own a lot of land, then conquestalism. If I also run a big company and I'm rich, then authoritarian capitalism. If I'm just rich but I don't run a company, then aristocracy. And if I'm British, then fucking hell. These two, absolutely, imperialism and colonialism. They basically go hand in hand. If I'm Genghis Khan, then Genghis Khanism, but I'm not Genghis Khan. So yeah. That's my political compass explanation and video. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys later.